we're going to have another challenging summer, and none of us want that. For the local business people, from a recreational standpoint, from a quality of life standpoint. And it's not just Lake Hopatcong, it's our lake communities, but it certainly is, this is the biggest and in many respects, one of the most important. And the impacts of the HABs, as it were, are real. Everything from skin irritation all the way up to evidence no humans have died, but evidence of animals drinking the water in extreme cases have perished. So we want to get out ahead of this. We want to make sure it's safe, and we want to make sure that we're taking the steps collectively ahead of time. So we announced at the outset of our meeting today, and then we had a really good discussion, as I say, that added a lot of really good points. We announced a three-pronged plan. Number one, real funding, a total of $13.5 million, both state and federal money, in three buckets. One is basically short-term projects that either prevent the HABs from forming or mitigate them once they do. Secondly, another bucket of money to help local municipalities in the planning and preparing process. And then thirdly, for the big projects, to have a principal forgiveness loan program. And when I say big projects, for me, that's the best example is switching from septic to sewer and working with local utilities to get that process done. Second bucket, so funding, $13.5 million, mix of state and federal, some of that matching grant money, so the number can get higher than the 13.5. Secondly, a redoubling down on science and evaluation, making sure we're working with the absolute best cutting-edge science available to make sure that our decisions are as well informed as possible. One of the things we did not promise, but I will say I personally like a lot, and DEP is taking this very seriously, and my sense is it got a good amount of support here, is to think through a process, a warning process that's much more akin to a hurricane system with a scale. And that's something that I think a lot of us like a lot. And then thirdly is communication. We have to communicate better. And we've heard this evidenced in different ways today. Number one, we're going to upgrade our website. Number two, we're going to have at least 2, if not 3, summits in the cold weather in early 2020 before Memorial Day weekend with local businesses, obviously stakeholders of all kind. The DEP is committed to being more forward-leaning, working with municipalities on that communication. I have committed to use my bullhorn more aggressively. Our shore brothers and sisters give me good marks on standing up for the shore economy. I want to stand up with equal force for the lake economy and lake realities here. And so those are the sort of multi-pronged commitments that we have made. I would also add that Sean LaTourette will be, who's the chief of staff at DEP, will commit to not only hosting the summits, but we've committed to hosting working group meetings with folks in this room and their teams and/or their teams once a month, including the congressional teams, over the course of the next 6 or 7 months before Memorial Day. The freeholder darling surrogate-elect asked the question, do we know this is going to work? And the answer is I can't say that. We believe, based on science and fact, that we're going to have the best chance, particularly in the face of climate change making the challenge even bigger, that we're going to have the best chance at getting out ahead of this. And we are all committed to that. We had some great support from our congressional colleagues who are down fighting for more federal money into this arena. I want to thank the senators who each had very good suggestions. Senator Panaccio had a 7-point list of suggestions that I thought were, many of them, if not all, very common sense based. The members of the Assembly, again, each of them with very good comments, questions, contributions. We heard a couple of times that the Highlands region is a particularly unique region. We have to keep that in the back of our mind. We heard as well that we may need to come over the top on the authority to hook up folks to the sewer systems where that authority may not exist. We heard, I think quite rightfully, that the Lord helps those that help themselves, and the state park land here ought to get on the sewer system. So, Sean, you're going to make sure that happens so that we're out there employing others to get on the sewer system. We can look in the mirror and say that we were on it ourselves. I don't want to go on. I know we're a little bit late. Have anybody in great substance, have I mischaracterized? I think Senator Bucco asked, this is a statewide program. They'd love to know specifically here at the foundation and the Lake Hopatcong community how much of that's going to come into this area. That's something we got to come back to you on. Right. You guys okay with this? A summary?
I think that's a critical point.
Yep.
We know this is a $13.5 million program. 3-point proposal. That all is encouraging. But we need to know how much of that $13.5 million is coming back to Lake Hopatcong and this region.
Yep, and that was well articulated, and we've got to come back because these are grant application processes. The good news is I want to also make sure I add at least 2.5 of the, am I right here, the 2.5 of the 13.5 is eligible for matching grants. So that 13.5 can get punched up to 16 million. Senator. You bet.
I hear that we had your commitment, Governor, on that $500,000 for Greenwood Lake, the same as Lake Hopatcong gets.
I don't know that you heard a commitment, but you heard a very, very open-minded and sympathetic ear. I appreciate that, Senator.
Governor, the other thing we should also be very mindful of is, let's face it, Lake Hopatcong, we got Sportswood Lake, we got Lake Muscatine, all, Greenwood Lake, there's a lot of the state properties. The impact on the economy, we should take a look at, and the issue of the cash flow into the Treasury, I'm sure was a big significant
no
factor,
question.
and we'll be looking into that as well. I think we should take a real close look at that.
Yep, there's no question. This is not just a question of the environment, quality of life, but this is pure dollars and cents in people's pocket and in ours. Hal.
One quick thing, you have the most powerful position in the country, most powerful governor, and I just hope it doesn't get bogged down in any kind of bureaucracy. I don't think I've heard people say studies or does that. The plan has to move full speed.
No, this
goes by in a flash.
No, you betcha. You betcha. This is not a study. You bet. These are grants. This is action. No question. Josh.
I just want to really thank you, and I want to thank everybody here. This is right. There's no partisanship here. This is coming together around getting something done. And the fact that you brought this group together, we're all very grateful. We're going to all stay on it. And we want everyone to be able to swim in the lake, right? Boats, economy, right? Just good fun, and that's what this is about.
Maybe a Budweiser.
It's Jersey. We love it. So we got to make sure we bring everyone together and get this problem solved.
Amen.
So
Amen. We'll take a couple of on topic, please, and I'll deal with off topic separately.
Governor Brianna from NJTV News. When we were here over the summer,
We know you, by the way.
we were discussing this with folks over at Lake Mohawk and business owners, where considerable investment has been made. Is any of this money being set up as a reoccurring, sustainable source of funding?
Well, yes and no. I mean, this is this is to get us back on our feet right now, and I think we've got a 6-month experiment window here that we could see whether or not, in fact, we can answer Heather's question in the affirmative, whether or not we can get out ahead of this. I don't know how you'd answer the ongoing recurring piece of this.
So, to the extent that we're taking in grant applications to facilitate infrastructure improvements, right? We know why this is occurring. This is nutrient runoff. This is temperature change. To the extent that we're putting into action the investments in our infrastructure and our watershed management, that is what will be recurring.
Yep. I was going to say something else, which I've come to the conclusion of. I will be here. Mike Delamato will make sure either on Memorial Day weekend or as close to it as I humanly can, and bring, I hope, a lot of folks with me to shine a light on this lake and others. Please.
Bill Westhoff, Daily Record, USA Today Network. You mentioned federal funds. Is that speculative? I mean, are these grants that will have to be applied for? How do we know we're going to get the federal funds?
So we have, for the $13.5 million, the funding is in place. We have the money both at the state level and the federal level. But a big part of the early part of our conversation was how can we do more, particularly in the face of some hostile winds in Washington, to get even more federal money. Do either one of you guys want to talk to that?
Sure. So this is our part. It's about making sure we get money coming lot of revolving fund that is the source of the funding that we are going to be using to help the lakes. We are facing from the administration severe pressure on the EPA and the Interior Department.
Federal administration.
Federal administration, yes, sorry.
Just want to get that.
40%, the largest cut in any federal agency that the federal administration, the Trump administration, proposed was to EPA. We said no in the House, and we are going to hold the line. But this shows how important it is that we have a New Jersey congressional delegation that is defending the budgets of the federal agencies that are sending money back to New Jersey to help our communities do what we need to do.
And last point, just to end to that, there are resources there. The key is making sure we fight for them, right? And we like to say, the Moocher states, the other states, take far back more than they deserve. More should be coming back to Jersey. That's what our job is, to fight for the dollars to come back here to get our taxes down.
Right. We'll do two more, and we'll wrap.
Actually, 3 questions, Governor.
Okay.
He's got to pay for the last 2.
What's it?
Will you go swimming in the park?
Boy, I don't know that I want to. I don't want to. I'm not sure that look is a look I want to be. You want the lake open, don't you?
Seriously, do you consider climate change to be a crisis right now? And as far as this specific problem with these lakes, whether it's Greenwood or Hopatcong or anywhere else in New Jersey, how much can you do about fertilizer on lawns, runoff?
Yeah.
Those are the 2.
The answer to the first question is yes. And I don't think that's a partisan view. I think increasingly most Americans think we're in a climate crisis. And secondly, you could do a lot, because the things like fertilizers are nutrients to these harmful algae blooms. And so that's part of the investment that we're talking about making here today with local communities to get out ahead of this as possible. I think, again, if we were able to break the back of climate change and just hold it as a steady matter, we clearly were behind the 8 ball here. So we are both making up for lost time and expecting a bigger mountain to climb going forward, which is why it's as important that we're together today in a cold, rainy day in November talking about next summer. We can't let any more time go by. Please. I don't off the top of my head. Does anybody? It's significant, but I don't know what the number is.
We're told it's approximately 2.5 million.
In this lake alone. In this lake alone. So the members of the.
I'm surprised it's that low.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's that low. I think it's.
40%. 40 restaurants and 14
And we can't see that movie again. None of us want to see that again. Certainly the folks who were impacted by that. Again, I want to thank everybody. This is an incredible all-star cast of elected officials, of government representatives at all levels. Deep, deep appreciation for everybody coming out and the spirit of goodwill and cooperation, and we take it from here. Thank you all.
Thank you, Governor.
Steve, thanks, buddy. Good job. Thank
Just
you.
so you know, Governor,